Hey everyone, hope you've been well. Today I want to share with you the basic recipe for chicken soup. I'm going to, throughout this, make it pretty easy for if you want to make this beef, vegetarian. I'm going to show you how versatile this recipe is. Today I'm going to be doing this in the form of chicken and dumpling soup. It's pretty cold and rainy outside, so I do want some comfort food. That being said, I'm kind of in denial about the fact that we still have almost a month of winter left. So I'm probably, starting with my next video, going to be launching into some of my springtime picnic favorites. So this is going to be really the last winter themed recipe that I'm going to be showing. So let's make some chicken soup. Today I'm going to be using my Instant Pot just for speed's sake. I really want to show off kind of how fast this can be thrown together, but it tastes just as good as the kinds of soups that are slow cooked over a long period of time. So every soup's going to need a base. You can use whatever broth you want. I'm using chicken broth today. You could use beef broth, you could use vegetable broth, you could use pork stock, whatever you want to use. So it's going to be a quart of your favorite broth. Next up, you want to think about what you're going to be seasoning this with. If you were doing beef, you might want to go with richer flavors like red wine, a lot of hearty vegetables, salt and pepper, and just kind of let the beef flavor speak for itself. With chicken, my go-to herbs are parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, like the song. Depending on what I have on hand or what I'm in the mood for, I'll do any combo of those. Today I'm going to be doing parsley, sage, and thyme. With a lot of the herbs, I've found it's easiest really to just bundle it up with some twine, throw it in the stock, and then you can fish it out. So I'm going to take 4 really good sprigs of thyme, and then one of these sprigs of sage, which has about 4 or 5 leaves on it, and I'm just going to tie those up. I'm saving the parsley for last. I find that when you add it kind of towards the end, it remains a fresher, greener color, and it also lends a fresher flavor than if you would cook the parsley a long time. So that's going to go in last. So my little bundle goes into my stock. Next, your veggies. This is also really versatile. I'm going to be using peas and carrots today. You could throw cabbage in here, you could throw leeks, you could throw potatoes, really whatever you want to be putting in here. So that's a cup of whatever vegetables you want to throw in. Celery and onions, you're going to find those in basically any soup that you're going to make. When it comes to beef stew, I tend to lean heavier on the root vegetables. Parsnips are great, potatoes, carrots, really hearty vegetables that can stand up from a long, slow cooking. So I'm going to do a 1/4 cup of onion. In that goes. Then same with celery, a 1/4 cup of that. And it goes. And then a couple cloves of garlic. Right in there. Last up, my meat. I'm using chicken breast today. I already am using pre-made stock, so I don't have to worry about a lot of dark meat or any bones like that. This chicken breast is really just to put some meat in the stew. So I'm going to drop that in. My broth is already pretty salty, so I'm just going to hit this with some pepper. I'm not going to bother adding any more salt to that. This will probably pressure cook in 30 minutes or less, so we'll check back when this is closer to ready. In the meantime, while this is steaming away, I'm going to get started on the starchy goodness for my chicken soup. This is another place where you can really do whatever you want. You could use some store-bought noodles, you could use homemade noodles, you could use rice, you could use leftover rice, you could put in some lentils. Any type of starch that you want is going to absorb the flavor of the broth that you're using and is really going to be versatile. Today I really want to treat myself, so I'm going to be making dumplings. But the dumplings are very simple. It's really only 4 ingredients you need. The first one's going to be flour, milk, some salt, and some baking powder. The baking powder is just to help them rise a little bit, puff up a little bit while they boil. If you left it out, they'd be edible, they would just be a little bit rubbery. So those are the 4 basic ingredients that you're going to need for your dumplings. If you wanted to add, we're hissing away here. If you wanted to add poultry seasoning to this, you could. If you wanted to add garlic, onion powder, you could add some dried herbs in here. I'm just going to throw in some pepper, but it's completely optional. I just want to give the dumplings some flavor. I'm just gonna stir this up for a little bit until I get a nice smooth dough. The ratio of flour to milk that you're looking for is basically 2 parts flour, 1 part milk. So I used a cup of flour and half a cup of milk. If you wanted to go vegetarian with this, you could absolutely use almond milk here. And once this starts to get a little bit stiffer, just give this some kneads to really smooth it out. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit more flour on here. Flour on my rolling pin. And roll these out. I'm not terribly worried about these looking beautiful or a perfectly even thickness or a perfect square or a perfect circle. I'm just trying to get this flat enough so I can cut it into thick noodles. You could also, if you don't feel like doing this step, once you've made your dough and you're ready to add the dumplings, tear off little pieces of the dough ball, throw them in, and there you go. I'm going to put a towel over this, let it rest, let the gluten relax a little bit before I go ahead and cut that. And after a wee bit of time, these dumplings are, well, this soon-to-be dumpling is ready to cut. Roll it initially a little bit thinner than you think you're going to need it. It will spring back a little bit because of the gluten. I'm not trimming any edges. I'm not getting out the ruler or anything like that. I'm just separating this into bite-sized-ish pieces. I'm gonna toss them with just a little bit more flour so that as they rest and wait for the soup, they don't stick to the counter or stick to each other. These are going to go back under their towely canopy while we get the rest of the soup ready. Everything has been cooking under pressure for 15 minutes now, and I know that it's already good to go. Everything cooks really fast in a pressure cooker. That is one of the beautiful things about these Instant Pots. I could be cooking over a stove for hours trying to make really good soup. With this, I have a delicious home-cooked meal. In no time at all. Okay, so I'm gonna fish the chicken breast out of here so that I can shred it up a little bit. Ooh, it is so tender, but it is also piping hot, so I'm gonna do this just with a knife. It really is just incredible how you get all of the beauty of slow cooking in 15 minutes with this pressure cooker. I'm more of a fan of the shredded look, not so much the cubes of chicken, so I'm just roughly shredding this. Oh my gosh, buddy, I need some. I'm actually gonna add, I found some rotisserie chicken in the fridge, so I'm gonna throw that in as well. There, you can have some. I don't wanna give you the piping hot chicken, that might burn you. I'm gonna fish out my herb bundle. Looking good. Since I'm doing this chicken and dumpling style, I mean, you could eat this as is. You could throw in your noodles and just have delicious chicken soup. I'm gonna add about a half a cup of half and half that has a couple tablespoons of flour mixed in. It's just gonna make it richer and creamier. I'm gonna throw in my chicken. I'm gonna throw in my dumplings. I'm gonna be careful to throw them in apart so that they don't stick into one blob. And then a few tablespoons of that fresh parsley. This is just gonna simmer for 3 or 4 minutes for those noodles to get done and then that rotisserie chicken to heat up. And it's gonna be ready to eat. You can take this off the heat. The flour that we added to the milk, as well as the dumplings, really thicken this into a pretty amazing looking pot of soup. I hope you give this recipe a try. What I'm gonna do down below in the video description is give you some tips for how you could mix this up depending on what meat, what vegetables, what starch you wanna use. So give this a try and let me know how it turns out. And while you're down there, make sure you like and subscribe and check back for more recipes soon. Bye. Oh my gosh, we have no spoons.